Washington, this is VOA News. I'm Ray Kouguell reporting. Israeli election too close to call. Both major candidates in Israel's parliamentary elections are predicting they will be the one to form a new government, even while TV exit polls show their race is too close to call. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, looking for a fourth term, already has declared victory for his conservative Likud party, writing on Facebook that Likud won against all odds. Isaac Herzog of the left-leaning Zionist Union alliance said everything is open until the final results are in. Both major parties are expected to win more seats than was projected. No candidate is expected to win a 61-seat parliamentary majority, and both major candidates made a last-minute campaign push to court smaller groups, anticipating having to form a coalition. Another 4 American aid workers have been flown home to the United States for monitoring following possible exposure to deadly Ebola virus. Tuesday's arrival brings to 15 the number of Americans flown home from Sierra Leone since last Friday. None of the returned aid workers have developed symptoms of Ebola, but they may have been exposed to the American clinician who came down with Ebola last week while working in West Africa for a Boston-based international aid organization. That man is in critical condition at NIH Hospital in Maryland. Iran's nuclear chief says Iranian officials have reached a mutual understanding with the United States and its negotiating partners on most issues in nuclear talks. Ali Akbar Salehi says one important difference remains that officials will try to resolve during their talks in Switzerland. In Washington Tuesday, White House spokesman Josh Earnest said there is a 50% chance at best of reaching an agreement. A deadline to reach a framework deal is at the end of this month. This is VOA News. Syrian state media say the Syrian military shot down a U.S. drone conducting a surveillance mission. No details, though, on the alleged incident in Latakia province along the Mediterranean coast. A U.S. official says contact was lost with the drone over Syria, but provided no other information. If it turns out to be true, it will be the first U.S. aircraft shot down over Syria since a U.S.-led coalition battling Islamic State in Iraq expanded airstrikes into Syria in September. The UN Commission of Inquiry on Syria is calling for the establishment of a tribunal to bring alleged perpetrators of war crimes and crimes against humanity in Syria to account for their actions. Lisa Schlein reports.
The 4-member Commission of Inquiry says a culture of impunity is flourishing in Syria. It says those who continue to commit violations of international law have nothing to fear, as it appears they are unlikely to be held accountable for their actions. Since it was established in August 2011, the Commission has repeatedly called on the UN Security Council to refer alleged perpetrators of war crimes in Syria to the International Criminal Court. Such action has been blocked by a threatened veto from Russia, which backs Syrian President Bashar al-Assad. Lisa Schlein, Geneva.
A U.S. Air Force veteran is being charged with trying to provide material support to the Islamic State militant group. The grand jury also indicted Tayrod Nathan Webster Pugh on obstruction of justice charges. Pugh allegedly tried to join the IS group earlier this year, weeks after being fired from his job as an airplane mechanic in the Middle East. Pugh faces up to 35 years in prison if convicted. Pakistani officials say they executed 12 male convicts Tuesday, the largest single-day total since the government lifted a moratorium on the death penalty. 10 prisoners were hanged at jails in Punjab province, while 2 others were hanged in the southern city of Karachi. The revocation of the policy was first applied only to those prisoners convicted of terrorism offenses. But last week it was announced the change had been widened to include all prisoners on death row whose appeals had been rejected. Officials in Cameroon are denying that 82-year-old President Paul Biya is seriously ill. Cameroon's communications minister says that President Biya, who's been out of the country since March 3rd, is on a private trip in Europe and not seeking medical help in a Geneva hospital, as has been reported. U.S. and Cuban diplomats have ended a third round of talks on restoring diplomatic ties without offering details on what was discussed. Cuba's foreign ministry says the two sides did agree to maintain communication in the future. I'm Ray Kouguell in Washington.
That's the latest world news from VOA.